Welcome to the Initiate Project chapter. We cover the following topics: business case, vision statement, project charter, product roadmap, types of Agile contracts, process tailoring, and who stakeholders are and why they are important for the success of a project. Now let's hear from the coach for more details.
Thanks, Dave. Let me take it from here. Business case. A business case helps to decide whether a project is worth the investment for the business. It is used for decision making by managers and executives. It contains the business need and cost-benefit analysis and includes inputs from various stakeholders. A project can come about due to many reasons, and typically projects help realize the strategic objectives of an organization. Some of the reasons for initiating a project are market demand, such as demand for cheaper gas, organizational need, such as for automating a payroll, customer request, such as for an online business presence, technological advance, where customers need, say, smartphones, legal requirement, for example, to comply with Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or due to social needs, such as improving the quality of living in a developing country. Vision. A vision statement helps explain the purpose or the why of the project. This helps everyone on the project team to focus their effort. Explaining the vision for a project can be done using various means, such as an elevator statement or design the box activity. An elevator statement concisely describes the vision of a project, and a sample format has been provided, as shown. Here is one vision statement for the case study example. For patients who need quality medical care, the PAMS patient management system is an online product that provides a one-stop solution to the patients. Unlike the current existing separate systems, our product provides access to the care providers about patients' medical records. In another method called as Design the Box, team members work together and describe succinctly about the product on the face of a box. It is essential that everyone on the team knows what it is they are working on and why. Without this single focus, team energies cannot be channeled. Hence, the very first step for the product owner is to work on the vision with the help of the team. Agile Contracting. Agile contracts can be tricky, since the complete scope of work may not be clear upfront. Therefore, variations in the standard types of contracts exist. As a customer, you will want to reduce your risk and hence may opt for a fixed price contract, while the vendor would be more in favor of a time and material contract. So be aware that many factors dictate the type of contract in a given situation. Broadly speaking, here are the different types of contracts: fixed price contract, time and material contract, time and material with a cap, fixed price per story point, fixed price per release, and so on. Now let us get into each of these in detail. Number 1, fixed price contract. Here the scope and time are fixed and hence not agile friendly. Any new changes may have to go through change control, or if the contract permits, be accommodated by removing stories of equal story points. In this contract, it is suggested that customer pay at the end of every iteration. This is best suited for agile projects because the customer can terminate the project anytime. In this type of contract, cost of material or labor are known upfront, while the only variable is the amount of time required for the project. Time and material with a cap, which limits the customer's exposure on the higher side. Fixed price per story point, where the contract is paid based on the story points. And fixed price per release, where the contract is fixed price for a particular release. Scrum uses two clauses, money for nothing and change for free, that we will discuss in detail next. Agile Contracting. Here we discuss two clauses that are popular in Scrum contracts, and they are money for nothing and change for free. Money for nothing is a contract clause that, under certain conditions, allows the customer to terminate a project by paying the vendor a small termination fee. The customer may wish to terminate the project for various reasons, such as changing business conditions, project work having realized sufficient business value, or for any other reasons. This gives flexibility to the customer since they save money by not spending on features they no longer need. Another contract clause is the change for free. Again, under certain conditions, the customer and vendor can exchange equal amounts of work for no additional cost. This means that any new work can only be accepted if an equal amount of existing work is removed. Due to better understanding of their needs or due to changing business and market conditions, customers may want to replace work they had already committed to. This mechanism protects both the customer and the vendor, and the customer gets to introduce new work for free. These give us an idea of how agile contracts can be structured to benefit both the customer and the vendor. Project Charter. After the contract is signed, the customer issues a project charter which formally authorizes the project into existence. The project charter can be a simple document and should contain high-level details of the purpose and business objectives of the project. This is typically developed by the sponsor, that is, the one who funds the project. At a bare minimum, it should contain the vision to answer the why of the project, the mission to state the how, and the success criteria to measure if the project's goal is achieved. Traditional project success criteria generally focus on satisfying scope, schedule, and cost parameter. This in itself may not provide true business value, which actually should be the project success criteria. This is what Agile follows. Let us listen in on Bob, the manager, authorizing the project.
I am authorizing this project by issuing a project charter.
Thanks, Bob.
Dave, remember that our goal is to create value to the customer.
Product roadmap. A product roadmap shows the overall plan of what features go in which release over a time period. The product owner, with the assistance of the team, is responsible to create the overall plan, laying out in broad details as to what will be accomplished in each time period. As business conditions change, the product roadmap should be updated to keep it current with the overall project understanding. Take a look at the example here. The product roadmap lays out 3 releases, one in each quarter. At a high level, it presents what is planned to be achieved. Again, remember, this is just a plan and subject to change.
To buy the full course and other services, visit ProplanX.com.
Stakeholders. Stakeholders are people and organizations who are involved in the project or who are impacted by the project either positively or negatively as a result of project execution or completion. An example of a positive stakeholder would be the customer, since they benefit from the project. A negative stakeholder could be an employee whose job would be replaced by automation. It is critical that stakeholders are identified early and as often as required. Here is an example list of stakeholders, which includes the Agile Manager or the Coach, Senior Manager, Developers, Testers, Sponsors, Users, Vendors, and others. The stakeholder diagram is just one representation. It most likely will be different in your own case. Managing stakeholders is one of the keys in Agile projects, and we will discuss this in greater detail next. Stakeholder Management. Stakeholder management is about understanding stakeholder interests, involvement, and potential impact on project success. This calls for an intensive communication and dialogue with all concerned. As someone managing an Agile project, you must engage with both primary and secondary stakeholders and constantly monitor and redesign processes to better serve everyone. The typical skills required in stakeholder management include interpersonal and management skills. Examples of interpersonal skills include resolving conflict, building trust, active listening, overcoming resistance to change. Examples of management skills include presentation skills, negotiating, writing skills, and public speaking. Now, let us focus on how we manage stakeholder expectations. Manage stakeholder expectations. Stakeholder expectations should be managed effectively since each one's needs could differ. If you are in the role of managing a project, then it is your responsibility to find a solution that satisfies multiple stakeholders. Let's take an example. You are an Agile manager working at EventTech. Let us see what some of the stakeholder expectations look like. The client wants to get as much of the scope into the project for the given budget. Your manager expects you to complete the project as fast as possible to bring in new revenue. Your vendor is desperate to work with you on a large piece of the pie so as to make more profit. Your project team is excited to try out the new technology on this very project. the functional manager is requesting that you release right away one of the key team members loaned to you. The PMO is insisting that you follow the company processes and standards. The quality department has issued you a non-conformance report. And we can go on. Now it becomes apparently clear how you are expected to use multiple skills in managing the stakeholders to ensure a successful project. Stakeholder classification. It is important that stakeholders are managed appropriately and based on their interest in the project and the power they have. Take a look at the graph here, which plots power versus interest. Power is the authority they can exert over the project, while interest implies their concern. The most important quadrant of stakeholders that needs to be managed closely is those that have high interest and also have high authority. The next most important quadrant of stakeholders that needs to be kept satisfied is those that have low interest but have high authority or power. Stakeholders in quadrant 3, that is those who have high interest but low power, needs to be kept informed. Finally, put in a minimum effort to monitor stakeholders low on interest and low on authority.
Can you answer these questions, please?
A high-level plan which shows the grouping of features to be delivered at different times is A. Project plan, B. Product roadmap, C. Vision document, D. Project charter. What is your choice? Project plan. This only offers help on how to accomplish the project goals. Product roadmap, which is a high-level plan on what will be accomplished and when. Vision document indicates the why or the reason for the project. Charter authorizes a project and states the overall objectives. The Scrum Master needs to obtain constant support from all the stakeholders, including the customer, for a successful project. What should she be good at? A. Project management, B. Scrum practices, C. Customer relations, D. Stakeholder management. What is your choice? Project management. While project management is no doubt important, getting the support of stakeholders requires a special kind of attention. Scrum practices. Only knowing the Scrum practices will not help unless the stakeholders are engaged as well. customer relations. While this is a good skill, a project has stakeholders apart from customers. A Scrum Master needs to keep this in focus. Stakeholder Management. This is all about understanding stakeholder interests, their needs and influence on a project. This is critical for a Scrum Master. Process tailoring. A standard process such as Scrum, XP, DSDM, Crystal may not be applicable out of the box in all situations. In these cases, appropriate process tailoring may be made after gaining sufficient expertise in using one of the standard methods. The martial arts concept of Shu Ha Ri comes to mind, which can be understood as follows. Shu means first learn the process. Ha means tweak the process or make adjustments to it as you need. And finally, Ri means be the process. That is, now that you have mastered the art, you may go on to create your own. Incremental development. Incremental development means developing in small increments to reduce the risk of building the wrong thing. Based on customer needs at that point in time, an increment of the system is built. This provides the customer an opportunity to test and provide feedback. By enforcing a short iteration cycle, all agile methods follow incremental development as a basic practice. Time boxing. Time boxing involves setting up a short-term goal and focusing on work termed as high priority. This reduces the risk of building everything at once, while improving efficiency and effectiveness. This short-term goal includes budget and deliverables, is just-in-time, work for things known at that point in time, helpful in effectively prioritizing work in the given time frame. Results are delivered in increments. Helps increase focus and motivation. Provides the team with an opportunity to inspect and adapt through constant feedback from the customer.
Here are the top benefits why you should buy this course now. Boost your career by preparing for PMI-ACP certification. Pay as you wish, a no-risk offer to you. Multimedia courseware. Realistic mock final exams, practice questions. Extensive testimonials. 21 hours course certificate. Courteous and prompt support. We hope you enjoyed the course. To buy the full course and other services, visit ProplanX.com.
Conclusion. In this chapter, we covered many topics. A business case helps a business to decide if a project should be taken up to meet its strategic goals. A vision statement helps in describing the purpose of a project. This should be clear, unambiguous, and easy to understand for everyone involved. A sponsor is an individual or an organization funding the project. A project charter is issued by the sponsor to authorize the project. the client determines the type of contract to use in working with a vendor. A project is successful when it provides value to the business. Product roadmap shows the high-level plan of the product's capabilities. It is important to manage stakeholders proactively in a project.
To revise, click on the topic.
Business case development describes whether a project is worth the investment for the business and is used for decision making by executives. Contains business need and cost benefit analysis. Incremental delivery. A development process where parts of the product are developed in stages and delivered to users with the intention of obtaining feedback. Process tailoring. Standard processes may not fit organizational needs. Hence, start with a standard method and customize after gaining sufficient expertise. Follow Shu-Ha-Ri method. Product roadmap shows prioritized work of what features are planned for which release. It depicts the overall set of planned product features. It is a high-level guide, subject to change. Product vision. A statement describing the desired future state that would be achieved by developing and deploying a product. Vision should be simple and easy to understand. Project chartering. A set of upfront activities needed to define a project at a level of detail that would help in funding decisions. Sponsor. A person or organization that funds the project. Time boxing. A project planning technique where the schedule is divided into a number of separate time periods, each of which has its own deliverables, budget, and schedules. Stakeholder. People or organizations involved in the project or impacted by the project, either positively or negatively. Stakeholder management is about understanding stakeholders' interests, involvement, and potential impact on project success.
Great. You made it to the end of the chapter.
Take up the quiz and activities that follow. Download content for offline study.
See you in the next session.